Hey, how's it going everyone? Tom Duppstadt here. I was having an internal debate about what I should talk about. There's just so many things I want to talk about. I wanted to talk about past lives, Matrix, ETs, conspiracy, and conspiracies, other things. So there's so much I want to get into. I think this one's a very useful one. And I'm basing this video from the blog post I wrote, The Law of One, The Nature of Evil. Now this whole thing came about as sort of a side effect of going through the journey of awakening. It's not something you thought about, but then when it hits you, you're like, oh wow, it's really good. And what it is our concept of what is right and what is wrong has been greatly distorted through culture, society, through history, through laws of the state. And those are just perpetuated over time, and they become solidified, and they even evolve, even growing even more in its distortion. And when you break down quite simply what is right and what is wrong, it makes life a lot easier, because one, you don't judge yourself as much because you know what's right and wrong. Society might say you're wrong, but you know what's right and wrong. It takes away that pressure on yourself. So it can raise your self-esteem in things that, people think you're a bad person, but when you baseline it to what really is, not at all. It's something that becomes very helpful in making decisions. You feel like there's this gray area, I want to do what's right, I don't want to do what's wrong. And when you baseline everything, it makes it much easier. There's a lot less gray area. Let's get started. So, of course, again, this is about Law of One. These are my own opinion, interpretation, my views in regards to the Law of One. So I encourage everyone to read those books, which I'll put the link down there. And in an effort for you to receive the information free of any distortions that I may unintentionally add. So I recently got into arguments regarding my interests. They have also been met with concerns. This was bound to happen, and it's difficult to articulate justification for my interest because there's no short narrative for it. On top of that, we have centuries of ignorance and bias compounded with misconceptions and social stigmas. So even if I'm allotted the opportunity to provide a full narrative, to explain myself, I have to hope that the individual has the open-mindedness to actually hear and comprehend what it is I'm saying. So this video is kind of in part to do just that. It's a reminder to myself on how I got here in my beliefs, and it was for these reasons as well as helping others in finding their own path, which I decided to write about this initially in the blog and then doing this video now. Unfortunately, in conversation, I can't just have someone sit and watch this video or read this blog before we have a discussion, although it would save me a lot of headache, right? Yeah, because sometimes people just don't get it, especially if you're talking about things that they have social stigmas about. If I tell them I'm using tarot cards or something like that, there's already a misconception. There's already this stigma. And again, you wish you had telepathy, right? Like I said in my other videos, to be able to place the concept of a thought into somebody's head so that they can see things as I see them and not have it distorted with their own interpretation of something. So concerns for my interests range from metaphysics, PSI, to the occult. And PSI, I mean psychic phenomena. Concern was raised that I am playing with evil and dangerous things. However, this is from the media and a long history of negative social stigma on the subject, but not at all reflective of their actual nature. Having always had an interest in such things, I was always too shy to pursue any of these because of this stigma that's on them. I could see those dark aspects to them, but by their nature, I did not feel this was so. But still, I kept my distance. So like all things in nature, nothing in nature is good or evil. But nature is without bias. It is what you make of it. And so it's the same with these other concepts. These other things, when I talk about PSI, or you're talking about occult or metaphysics, You know, of course, there's dark sides to these, just like there's dark sides to science, you know, creating weapons and destruction and things like that. So there's always positive and negative. It's what you do with it. So one thing we must understand is that no matter how positive anything may be, it can always be abused and used for evil, and vice versa. You know, like the Bible. The Bible is a great example of something positive, but used by some in very negative and very evil ways. You know, by this simple and common sense philosophy, all things have the potential to be misused and must be approached with knowledge and care, and always, always, always with good intentions. So, what is good and evil? Ra describes in the Law of One that good and evil does not exist. There is only what is. Good, evil, and sin are all creations of our own social complex. Let's look at this in regards to God, or the Creator, or the Source, or whatever you want to call it. God means something different for everyone, but the general consensus is that God created all things and is all-powerful and makes no mistakes, right? Would it then make sense then that God would create evil that would engage God in a struggle where God would then seek to destroy that which he created? Does it make sense that God would create sin and ask us not to be that which he created? So Ra describes that there are two possible paths to our ascension back to the consciousness of the Creator. Service to others, which is of a positive polarity, and service to self, which is of a negative polarity. Both are equally acceptable paths to the Creator. Now, most religiously oriented people may find this concept unacceptable. But before you close this video in disgust, let's look into this. You know, let's look a little deeper. So the reality of our existence is that we are all one. This is the law of one. Every person, every plant, every animal, every planet, every spirit, every angel, every creation in existence in the past, present, and future are all individualized extensions of one single consciousness, the consciousness of the Creator. So, in an effort to experience manyness, we were created. One of the most fundamental laws of his creation is free will, the freedom of choice. It is by our free will and choice that the Creator is able to experience all facets and colors of life. The beautiful, the good, the bad, and the ugly. As we ascend to higher densities, our consciousness is merged together with others to increase our knowledge and understanding of the universe while maintaining our individualized self. As a result, the understanding that becomes a knowing. So we have a choice in our ascension, whether you want to be service to self, service to others, positive or negative. And so people are worried that, you know, well, if negative can rise, then you're saying that God is negative. But it's actually when you reach sixth density, he said there's a knowing. There's a point at which you just know things. It's not just, well, I kind of think. No, there's a knowing about things. They said at sixth density, you know that you are part of the consciousness of the Creator and that we are all connected. And so when you have that, if you're in service to self and you're into controlling people, you know, making them our slaves, and you're realizing that you're being counterproductive with your own ascension, because when you hurt them, you hurt yourself. And they do an instant polarity switch. So actually, negative polarity never reaches the Creator. It's a pretty cool system, right? This is the important part. How do we use this information? So you see, in the end, positive polarity will always be the final result in reaching the density of the Creator. I find this process very elegant and very logical. Once you understand this, it'll change how you view the universe in regards to good and evil. In understanding this, you can more easily, with more accuracy and confidence, distinguish between the two. So once you kind of understand that concept, then it's easier to distinguish which is the path of service to others and which is the path to service to self. So here is a controversial example described by Ra in the Law of One. Although the Bible is a resource for teaching the Law of One, there are many negative influences as well. And this is what I described in my previous videos when talking about channeling, in that all these inspired works, including the Bible, are channeled works. But if they're unaware of or unable to discern between positive and negative polarity channeling regarding the content, your message can be distorted. And there's many ways to distort the message. It can be distorted with your own consciousness, your own mind, the way you're interpreting the information. It could be distorted by the channel, that the frequency that you're trying to receive was off balance, and another entity can make its way into that channeling. And the distortion can be very subtle. So the distortion can be a very positive message, but then there's just a little something in there that makes it negative, and that can have a big impact. And this is kind of what's being described here. Although the Bible is a resource for teaching law of one, there are many negative influences as well. And like any other resource that is out there, you must discern what is positive and what is negative. So the 10 Commandments is an example of having a negative influence. So why? It's specifically these words, thou shalt not. These words violate free will, commanding that these be followed without question. As a result, it prevented a choice and created a division between us and them. The rule is simple. So if you do anything that infringes on the free will of another, that is of a negative polarity. Lies are negative because you're controlling the context of information that violates their free will to act on the truth. Intention also has a lot to do with it, as in a lie is negative, but if it is with selflessness and the intention of compassion, then this would not be seen as negative. You'll find a lot of people challenging their notion of what they do as positive rather than negative. But you'll know in your heart if you're trying to deceive yourself or others in this notion. So be honest with yourself and your intent, and you will know if it is truly of a positive or negative polarity. A lot of the confusion comes in is inside, this was the right thing to do, and then maybe society is like, no, you sinned, you did this wrong, or you never should have done that. Family is like, no, you shouldn't have done that. But inside you know. So this knowledge is greatly liberating, and it allows us to pursue life with more confidence, regardless of the social stigma for our choices. As I've said, I've had to shy away from interests in the past because of history or social stigmas that make me even question if something is positive or negative. But now that I have my own reliable gauge of what is right and wrong, I can pursue my life with confidence in knowing that what I'm doing is positive. It also allows me to learn and research more freely and with confidence in being able to discern whether the information is positive or negative. If the information divides people, creates fear, or suppresses people in any way, this is of a negative influence. Although it can seem black and white to what is positive and negative, the degree of positivity and the degree of negativity must be weighed in your discernment. For example, you may find that a person for the most part is very positive, but has done something or said something in the negative. You need not dismiss the person for the negative, but rather accept the person as the positive person they are, but to reject the words of the actions that were negative. Again, the Bible is another example. There's negative information in there. It was written and edited by man. You must make your own distinction on what is positive and what is negative. You don't need to accept it all as one way or the other. You choose what it is you take to heart and what not to. And that goes with anything. It goes with the law of one. There's something in there that doesn't resonate with you. Don't make that a part of you then. That doesn't mean you have to throw everything else out. And it's the same with the Bible. And I think that's kind of what's caused a lot of people to turn away. Because if you try to say that the entire Bible this is the law of God, this is all the word of God, and you can't criticize any part of that because of that reason, well, that would cause you to want to throw it out. That was kind of the thing with me, is there were things in there that I didn't agree with. I'm like, no, this isn't right. But based on the community, it's like you have to accept it all. You don't have a choice. You have to accept it all. And I'm like, I can't accept it all, so I'm going to reject it all. But now I've learned that there is true and false information in there, in other works. And it's up to us to try to discern. And when it comes to things like this, you don't always have a scientific measurement of yes, this is true, or yes, this is false. You have to use your own intuition and discernment in order to make that distinction. In the end, we all will falter. All we can do is strive to better ourselves and try to accept in our hearts only what is positive. And that's what I continue to do. With this newfound knowledge and understanding, I have taken seriously my pursuits into metaphysics, PSI, and occult. Particularly, I do not like to use the word occult, as it has so much history and stigma attached to the word associated to black magic. The occult is defined as supernatural, mystical, or magical beliefs, practices, or phenomenon. This is accurate to the point that it is free from bias of positive and negative polarity in that description. However, it's inaccurate in that it is not supernatural, but it is natural. It is not mystical or magical, but is actually the true reality of things. These pursuits are not an experiment to see what might work or hold truth. I've already done legwork here through my research the past years that I've come to understand through countless validations from mystics, philosophers, to scientists, and physicists that these things are the true nature of things and not the exception. These are things that continue to elude most of us, as they require faith in hand with raising of our vibration to attain it. In doing so, we not only reach our true potential, but are introduced to a vibrant and exciting universe as a reward. While all these arts are certainly capable of negative uses and influences, it is always important to continue to discern the positive and negative. I continue to do this, not only in my path, but in my thoughts and intentions. Understanding of the arts and the pursuit of light and love and compassion to raise my vibration and awareness so that I may become a better person and perhaps inspire others. These are my interests. And it's all good. So you see, the nature of these things are the nature of our metaphysical or spiritual soul light bodies. This is how it is outside of this meat suit, outside of this matrix. We're given a taste of it here. We're given a taste of how, of accessing that in our dreams and through our consciousness and through meditation and through our intention and our imagination. We're able to reach into these and pierce the veil and get little snippets of these. But the truth is, these are the reality of things. And that's why I continue to want to learn about them, because I want to learn more about the nature of what really is. I'm less interested in the illusion. So that's about it. So this was pretty deep. I hope this helps. For me, it's made a big difference. It's helped me to discern things a lot better. It's helped me to make choices in my life with a lot more confidence, because I know where they stand in the grand scheme of things, and you know what's right for you. Yeah, take this information, research, dig into this stuff yourself, try to find more. I encourage you to read Law 1 and try to get this perspective. Even if you don't believe it, even if you don't believe all that, especially, like the logistics, it's hard for people to take, Listen to the message. The message is pretty amazing. It'll open your eyes to some philosophical questions that you'll start asking yourself, and change the way you look at the world, look at the universe, look at yourself. All right, well, that's it. So if you can help me out, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and take care of yourself and take care of others. And peace out.